Colbyjack.net is proud to present From the Flames by Trisha M. Wilson. The people of the fire, the Blesa, led by their queens, have ruled the island of Alfeyju and oppressed the Driva, the people of the ice, for more than 16 generations. With the Drivian King in hiding and little hope on the horizon, the Driva looked to one person to save them from the vile Blesa, the Diviana. According to legend, the divinely gifted Diviana will one day overthrow the Blesa and restore the Drivian King to his rightful throne. But with the search having lasted for more than 400 years, will the Diviana ever come to light? Willow is the slave of the Raskpil family. Bought at the age of 4, 20 years have passed since her life irrevocably changed. Her existence is no worse than any other slave, but within, Willow wonders if there isn't something more she should be doing with her life other than serving the ungrateful. Ordered to travel with her master's family to Sondertoft, so her master's adult children can take part in an ancient rite of passage, Willow is shocked when she learns that she too must participate. Will she fail, as all before her have? Will she rise to the challenge and become stronger after passing through the flames? From the Flames, Episode 19, Chapter 10, Moving Targets. Walking through the village of Helfrida a month later, Willow was amazed at how different this village was from the one she'd grown up in. In Kristhaller, the main village was sparsely populated, for most of the villagers preferred to have their privacy. In all, there were only about 10 buildings at any given time, and most were small, for only the elderly lived in town. In Helfrida, Willow saw a few dozen homes, most as large as the home her old slave family lived in. People were everywhere, working, talking, and laughing, looking as if they hadn't a care in the world. In her old village, everyone looked like they had just eaten prunes, and humor was frowned upon. Perhaps their attitudes were because of the main occupation the villagers had. Since hunting and fishing were the way of life, they dealt with the real possibility that someone could die at any moment, be it by the will of a vengeful god or a ferocious beast. To further enhance their choice of livelihood, the village and surrounding homes were enclosed in very dense forest lands on 3 sides. The sea bordered the last side. In Helfrida, however, Willow could tell that farming and textiles were the mainstay. As far as the eye could see, she saw the green and brown stacks of the flax and wheat fields. The nearest field was covered with flax, the field going as far back as the eye could see. On each stalk there blossomed a beautiful blue flower, the same flower which was depicted in the stained glass window in the sitting room. These blossoms fascinated Willow, for she had never seen a flower so beautiful or delicate before in person. The only flowers she had ever been able to see were those her old master had given to her old mistress. Those hadn't even been a fraction of the beauty of these flax blossoms. Walking toward the flax stalks, Willow bent her head to breathe in the blossom scent. As her unique fragrance flowed through her, she heard a voice yelling her name. Looking up, she saw a man in the field running toward her. As he came closer to her, she saw that it was Sigurd, the stowaway she had sent to this village to prove his loyalty. "Is it time to leave?" Sigurd panted the second he was close enough to her to hear him. "I just need a few minutes to get my things and—" No, Willow said, laughing. "It's not time." "Then why are you here? Not that I'm not delighted to see you," he added hastily. "Hawk needed to pick up some supplies, and I wanted to see the village." "I can give you a tour if you'd like," Sigurd suggested shyly. "Oh, I couldn't take you away from your work." "Don't worry about it. All I was doing was checking on the back flax fields. It can be done any time." Accepting his assurances, they slowly headed back into the village. "You are looking lovelier than ever. How's it going at Mistress Astrid's?" Sigurd asked after pointing out Natsol's workshop. Willow stopped to watch Natzel hammer a fiery red horseshoe. The sharp clanging sound as the hammer met the shoe resonated in the air. The heat from the angry fire wafted out the open door, making the unusually nice summer day oppressive. Sweat dripped down Natzel's rippling muscles, attesting to the hard work he did. "Thank you for your kind words. As for life with Mistress Astrid, it is going very well. I am learning every day how to control my magic." "What can you do exactly?" he asked when they started walking again, leaving the heat and humidity behind. They made their way into the center of the village. Sturdy wooden homes and buildings lined the village green. Here the villagers would probably hold gatherings and special events. Here is where group work would probably be done. "I can create and throw icicles, which look like daggers made of ice, and ice spears at targets." "What are those women doing?" she asked. At the center of the village green, there were a large group of women encircling a vat of strange-looking liquid. The liquid bubbled and simmered as the fire beneath the vat was fed with an endless supply of firewood. As Willow watched the group, a woman came out of a nearby building with her arms full of something. Willow was too far away to see what exactly it was. The woman, with sweat dripping down her face, stopped at the edge of the vat. The other women came to her and each grabbed one or two of the items which she held. Then, pulling out large paddles, they threw the items into the bubbling vat. After a few moments, the objects, which now looked like wet string or straw, bobbed back to the surface. Seeing this, the women with the paddles pushed them back under and began to stir the weird mixture. It was as if the women were sorceresses mixing a magical brew. The sight of the circling paddles was mesmerizing. "They're dyeing the linen thread they made during the winter. You can create ice spears and throw them at objects? That must take a lot of energy." Sigurd sounded impressed. "Yes, it does, but every day it's becoming easier," she said, walking closer to see the dyeing process. She could hear the women gossiping, laughing. They were comfortable around each other in a way Willow had never seen in her life. The people in her old village hadn't really gotten along with each other. They'd all tolerated each other, for they were better off working together than going at it alone. But the easiness these women displayed with each other was remarkable. Willow wished she had grown up in this village. If she had, she knew she'd have had a happier childhood and suffered less. "Practicing usually does make things easier. Have any other abilities presented themselves to you?" he asked, a greedy look in his eyes. Shaking off the sudden sadness which had descended upon her, Willow took a few steps toward another building. Standing in the home's shade was a waist-high, gleaming flat plank with what appeared to be a smooth handle carved out of the piece of wood. Hanging from the handle was another piece of wood, except this one looked almost like a small sword. "Not yet, but Mistress Astrid has been hinting that I have other abilities, and that they will only present themselves under the right circumstances." "What is this?" Sigurd barely glanced at the object in question. "A child's sword." "And the plank?" "I don't know. I haven't seen them using it. Perhaps it's a target for the children to attack." Turning away from the women, they walked back toward the flax field. When they paused to study the swaying stalk, Sigurd said, "May I be permitted to train with you? I am continuing to train on my own, but I know I could learn a lot from you, and perhaps you would learn a few things from me." As Willow pondered his suggestion, Val said, "If you let him come, you can use him as a moving target. You do need practice with moving targets." "I'd never do that. I could easily hit him and accidentally kill him. He doesn't have the ability to deflect my attacks as Astrid can." "Oh, that is a possibility. I didn't think of that," Val said uncaringly. "He would still make a very good moving target." Making up her mind, Willow said, "I would be honored if you would visit me at Mistress Astrid's home to train. You and Hawk would be able to learn from each other in addition to teaching me." "Of course," he said, his voice suddenly tight. He turned his attention back to the swaying stalks, appearing to look out into the distance. "Do you always carry the staff?" he asked suddenly. "Yes," Willow answered, surprised at the question. "I channel my magic through—" "Don't tell him my name," Val ordered. "Through the staff," she finished after a slight pause. Can you do magic without it? Why are you asking? Willow asked, uncomfortable with the shift of the conversation. Why was he asking these questions? I'm concerned, that's all. If for any reason you were separated from it, would you be able to protect yourself? Yes, Val said. Tell this jackanapes that I enhance your powers, but that you don't need me to kill or maim him. Yes, Willow said. I would be able to protect myself. The staff is only a conduit. Silence settled upon them. A breeze blew all around them, enveloping them within its embrace. Tiny birds sung from their homes in the treetops. Grasshoppers chirped from within the flax. Peace overcame the couple, and for that moment, it was as if they were the only two people in the world. The peace was broken with the jangle of a harness and the squeaks and creaks of wooden wheels. Willow glanced behind her and saw Hawk sitting upon the provision-laden wagon. The giant brown horse held himself proudly, waiting for Willow to return so they could go home. Turning back to Sigurd, she said, I must go now. It has been wonderful seeing you again. Sigurd lightly held her hand and pulled her close to him. Her body was a hair's breadth from brushing against his, the air around them thick, making it hard for Willow to breathe. Sigurd leaned in and gently brushed his lips on her cheek. Only courting couples or very close friends were bold enough to engage in such familiarities. Nobody had ever been so familiar with Willow. Sigurd's action sent her heart galloping. The pleasure has been all mine, mistress, Sigurd said with soft, soulful eyes. When should I come to train? Willow felt the burn of where his lips had touched her skin, and she suddenly felt unsteady on her feet. She tried to concentrate on his question, but her mind was really on his kiss and what he meant by it. Come next week. Monday. Monday it is, he said with a promise and a gleeful grin. Until then, safe training. And to you, she whispered before shakily running to the wagon. The second she climbed up next to Hawk, the horse started to walk. Have a good time with the stowaway? Hawk asked, not looking at her. Willow shifted in her seat so she could see his expression. As a matter of fact, my time in the village went very well with Sigurd as my guide. Did you get everything Mistress Astrid asked for? Of course I did, Hawk said. His tone was hard. An uneasy silence fell over them as they drove toward the boundary mist. The farther they traveled, the more Willow was able to think back on the strange question Sigurd had asked her. Why had he been so interested in what she could do and if she needed Val? I'm making too much out of this, she scolded herself. His questions were perfectly reasonable for... Before Willow could complete her thought, she felt a shiver pass through her body. She had never felt this way before. Something was wrong. Did you feel that? She asked, tightening her grip on Val. Feel what? Hawk asked. I feel it, Val said. What is it? She asked. What is what? Hawk asked, sounding confused. Be quiet, Willow ordered in a low voice. It's the enemy, Val said. This work is released under Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike license. Do what you want with it. Remix it, re-record it, transcribe it, share it. Just don't sell it or change the terms of the license. Your creation must be released under an Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike license. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.